What do you believe right now that's making you feel this way? And when you analyse it, you realise how irrational you can be at times.
Every single one of our major customers and minor customers all shut their doors overnight.
It's not sales per se, but the outcome of it is because people get to know you, they get to see you.
But, you know, what's the culture like at the business? What do we stand for, the values?
I've got to tick that box on my personal development program I don't really want to be here.
Scaling up a business isn't easy. If it were, we wouldn't have less than 4% of businesses scaling beyond 10 employees or around £1 million turnover level, and less than 1% beyond 50 employees. But the contribution that we make as owner-managers to our economies is immense and should never be underestimated. Yet it can be a tough gig for all of us at times, and only other business owners truly understand the challenges that we face. And through ScaleUp Radio, we aim to help make things a little easier. We interview guests who have been where you are now and may have faced some of the challenges that you are facing. And they offer their thoughts and advice on what has worked for them, as well as what didn't. And we've also combined many of the lessons from these interviews and also through working with hundreds of owner managers over the last 10 years or so into a practical scale-up handbook that we've called the Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System, or ESUS. And it's for owner managers like you and me as we navigate our own scale-up journey. And you can order a copy through your favourite online book retailer or by going to all the W's, esusgroup.co.uk, www.esusgroup.co.uk. Hello, I'm Kevin Brent, and on this week's episode of ScaleUp Radio, I talk with Christophe Convert from Convert Design, or Convert Design if we're going to use the English accent, because as you'll hear, he is French and has a great Gallic accent. And he started as Convert Solutions in 2008, but they changed their name just a couple of years ago to Convert Design. And Christophe himself, though, has been in that design industry for over 20 years. And as you'll hear, what they do is they help clients to design and develop products from maybe a sketch or an idea to a full 3D design or finished product, including testing whether it will work, whether the stresses and strains will break it, or whether it will all hold together. And our conversation covered the client journey through the company, through the business model, and through Christophe's origins in the design world. And there's quite a bit of help and advice for all of us to listen out for here, including things like how we can structure and maintain a national company, but still using a very small team and work with big clients, why you need to keep our marketing going no matter how busy we get with clients at any one time, and why dismissing trust between you and your clients can be very damaging to your business. So building that trust. And as you'll hear, Christophe is quite laid back in that typical Gallic way, if you like, but the passion, ambition for the future of the company still comes through very strongly. So I think you'll thoroughly enjoy this discussion with Christophe. Welcome to ScaleUp Radio. I'm here with Christophe Convert of Convert Design. So Christophe, welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Thank you very much, and hi to everybody.
Great. So do we say Convert Designs or Convert Designs? What's your preference?
It would be Convert in France, but it's Convert in the UK, Convert Design.
Okay, brilliant. So there's a clue in the design bit, but what does Convert Design do?
So we are a product consultancy, product design. We basically help our customers and our clients to who've got an idea, a concept of a product that they want to bring to manufacture. So that's when we come in and help them with a CAD, computer aided design, which we can do, and then help with a supplier base afterwards to help them to get their product manufactured.
Brilliant. Can you give us an example maybe of something specific?
So one of our last clients was an oil and gas IoT company that have got a software to monitor what's happening on pipelines to detect leaks and preempt big oil leaks, for example, on pipelines. And we've designed for them a mechanical device that sits on the pipeline, let's say every 2 miles, which with a host of sensors on there, which attached through an umbilical cord to a remote station where they can send data and monitor what's happening in the pipeline. So we've designed all of that for them and found them suppliers, made a prototype, 2 prototypes actually, that they've tested. And it's called GG Pipe, yeah.
Brilliant. So what did they come to you with then? A vague idea, or did they say, we wanted something that looks like this, and then you made it happen? What sort of stage did people come to you at?
So they had a prototype made, a very crude prototype of a device that they've kind of mocked up themselves by using a contractor, and but that stopped. They've done some basic technique testing. They were happy with the design, kind of thing. And we were approached by them to refine that design and make it something that can be manufactured, because what they had was very, very crude. So it was 3D printed as well. And it used to take there is 4 quadrants in that assembly, and it used to take about 3 days per quadrant to 3D print, which you can't go into production and selling a product if it takes that long to manufacture. So for just one component of the assembly. So we came in and helped them with that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it sounds fascinating and very technical. So what sort of clients then are you typically working with? Is it large oil type companies, or are there all sorts of companies that you work with?
No, it's any SME, I would say up to 50 employees, roughly, a small SME that has got maybe a design office or who doesn't have one at all. And we can jump in at any stage as resource. So they can use us as a resource, and we can help them with their team, working with their team to develop the product. Or we can come from scratch so a small SME who's got no knowledge of design whatsoever, and we'll listen to their brief, and then we'll go on and design the product for them.
So is this a very competitive market? Are there lots of people that do what you do?
There is, in different aspects. There is not a lot that do mechanical design for the industry as such. There is a lot of product designer out there that will do, for example, a pusher for John Lewis, or other product as we know it, product we use every day. But for the manufacturing industry, and there is not many around. So and they're very scattered across the UK. So it's
very good. And what you give us a little bit of a hint of it there, but what separates you? What makes you special compared with other people that maybe could do part of what you do?
So the way we are bespoke and different from everybody else is we have every client's got a bespoke process to design that product. So like I said earlier, we can come and just do one stage of the design, and we just do the CAD part, and then and that's it. We leave and move on to the next project. Or we've got a full suite of services from cradle to grave, as we call it. So from the early design up to the finished product, which is manufactured and the person can sell. And it's a stage we can adjust the process to fit with any customer, basically. So if that makes sense.
All very bespoke then.
Yeah, and very customizable, yeah.
And is the business model therefore very much a consultancy, project by project way? Is that how you make your money? Is that how you charge?
Yeah, so we have a fee we charge by the hour, or we charge by the day, depends, or sometimes we charge by a full project cost. It depends how big the project is. We've currently have one of our customer in Upton upon Severn, so like 5-minute drive for me and from our office, and it's a 5 hours job. We help them design their product, then they've got somebody to make it for them, and and away they go. It's very customizable depending on the client and what the client wants, really.
Yeah. And does that mean, you mentioned earlier with the DigiPipe that you were helping them to find people to manufacture it for them? So does that mean you've got contacts in manufacturing world, then all sorts of people that can make the product that you're designing? That's
right. Yeah. So I've been in the product design industry for over 20 years personally, and I've worked with a lot of suppliers over the years, which I kind of retain contact with, and I know they can produce something which is really good quality, and they're not necessarily the cheapest, they're not the most expensive supplier either, but their quality is excellent, and I know I can trust them when I need something done for a client. It'll be done right and at the right price as well. So yeah, we've got a few suppliers. We can approach others as well, depending on if the client says he want to use a specific supplier, then of course we'll use that.
Yeah. So can you give us an idea of the scale, the size of the business?
At the moment, we only 3 main employees. So myself as a design, we've got a marketing coordinator that deals with all our marketing and making our business visible. And we've got also an admin person that deals with all the wages and all the admin that involved in the business. We have got a few contractors around us that works with us, that helps us, and because we've been working together for a while now, we know them well, and we know they can produce as good design as we can. So or we've got other aspects of the design. We've got an FEA analysis engineer that works with us as well, which when we design, he can analyze the design itself, the product, and submit it to a few tests that the product needs to work to. And it could be, for example, it needs to be a robust design. It needs to be a product that is strong, that resists to certain forces physically, for example. So he can test all of that on the computer for us, so we can preempt. We've got a cost estimator and engineer as well we work with. So we make sure the design is fit for purpose and fit for cost, and it's the cheapest it can be and optimized and efficient. Yeah.
Very good. So you've got quite a team of specialists in specialist areas that you keep the cost down by working on a subcontracting type basis. Yeah. And for those, including me, that aren't really so familiar with some of the language you've used in there, what's the FE analysis that you're talking about?
So it's 3 letters, an acronym that stands for finite elemental analysis. It's like physical testing, but on a computer. So you tell the computer where the product is mounted, for example, is mounting points. So I don't know, let's say you take a sewing machine, you tell him it's going to be sat on the table, the fit will be fixed. And, while the machine does its work, you don't want all the plastic around it, for example, to start moving. It needs to be stable. It needs to be able to stand by itself. And as, for example, if you look at a sewing machine, you have, one way you've got a hole on the side to put your cloth. So obviously you don't want that bit to start flopping around. So,
right.
That needs to be strong and structural, for example.
And that FEE analysis is all computer generated, and that will test the stress points, essentially, will it? And by the sounds of it, for their design. That's
right. Yeah, you tell him which material you're going to use, and all of that, and he will tell you, if what you've designed is robust enough.
Very good, excellent. So, sounds like you've been in this world for quite a long time, then, over 20 years. You said, what got you into it in the first place?
It started when I was 14, really. My dad used to be a toolmaker. So, and I used to go with him now and again, like on school holidays, or he was working in a small business. So I was allowed to go in and just do bits and bobs for him in the shop floor, and got interested in the job, and then pushed all my studies towards that tool making job, and I included also a plastic injection molding design. So anything that is made into plastic, basically designing the tool to make the plastic parts and also designing the plastic part itself. Yeah, I just like problem solving. I've got a very creative mind, so I like anything that require thinking, you know. I like thinking outside the box, as I call it. How can I make something? Okay, everybody does it that way, but can it be done more efficiently? Can it be done with a different way? Can it be done with an innovative manufacturing way that nobody uses, and why nobody uses it? You know, explore all those challenges that makes project design. And so I started as a toolmaker. That was my first job when I first arrived in the UK in 1999. And then I moved on to project design for the automotive industry, so making plastic parts for dashboards, and then moved on to suspensions, and worked with some great companies like Aston Martin and Dyson Automotive, Worcester Bosch for designing a boiler dashboard for them, for their Green Star boiler. And in 2020, February 2020, moved on into freelance and consultancy for that, for a company used to be called Dashboard, now Clarion, where we made that DG pipe and to where we are now. Yeah,
fascinating. And what brought you over to the UK in '99?
I met my wife, which is English. At the time, she was my. So we met in a town in France where she came as a year out before A level, and we met and fell in love with each other.
Lovely. And
then I came back with her. So, yeah.
Brilliant. And you were quite young then, by the sounds of it, at that point, were you?
Yeah, I was 26. So, and I always wanted to learn English. But as we say in France, we want to go to Canada or Australia, because in the UK it rains all the time. So I didn't want to come to the UK, but here I am 24 years later. It's 23 years later. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's raining today.
It is indeed.
Brilliant. And I should have said at the beginning, I guess we're recording this literally on the day after the World Cup football final.
Oh dear. At least we got there.
Were you watching it?
I was. And believed until the end, but I knew when he was going to penalty that we had it, to be honest.
Right.
It was a very interesting match. The way they managed to come back and not being present for the first 80 minutes was quite an achievement. But Argentina definitely deserve it. I think they've played a lot better than France did. That's for sure.
Well, that's very magnanimous of you, and it was certainly a fascinating game. And yes, as you say, after the first 80 minutes, and once it then went into all the extra time, I mean, it was absolutely amazing spectacle to watch, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, good. So you came over in '99. What sort of things do you love most about what you do then?
It is a challenge, and it's very varied. So I could do, like I said before, an oil and pipe measuring device, to a mechanical a bio car that is called. It's an immune system test, like the COVID test. For a medical company we do in Upton. It's very varied, and now one of our clients is working on they're doing a marine outboard. So I've got another. We've just won a project for another device for it's basically a breast pump. It's very varied, and I love a challenge. So it's never short of one, that's for sure.
Yeah, very good. So, and what are you talk about the challenge? I mean, so the things I can imagine, as you said, that you love about it is the variety, and it's really interesting, and that mental challenge of finding a great solution to it all. What sort of things frustrate you? Perhaps what drives you bonkers or drives you mad?
One sentence I've heard a lot in engineering, and that's my pet peeve, is when people say, "We've always done it that way.
Right.
It works. Let's not fix it. It works." And it's like, to me, it's not an answer. It's there is, okay, fine. What you did used to work maybe 20 years ago with the technology you had, with the manufacturing possibility we had. But we've moved on, and there is so much new technology and innovation, especially in manufacturing. With 3D printing, we can 3D print metal now. Plastic, anything really, and there is no where it will take us. I don't know, but how much more innovation there is to be had. But there is so many new ways that we can improve things. I mean, with CAD software, before I started learning how to do 2D drawings of product and tools on a drawing board. And now we've got CAD software where we can do fancy shapes, any shapes really, as long as you can manufacture it, you can design it, there's no end to it.
Yeah. So what are some of you mentioned there, some of the things that have changed? What are some of the trends that are going on in the design world?
Well, CAD softwares get optimized more and more. We can... I don't know anything that we can do with those at the moment. It's you can do electrical harness, you can do pipes, you can measure flow inside a pipe on the computer, you can do aerodynamic testing, you can do all sorts. Like I mentioned earlier, you can do stress analysis on the components, so you can preempt. We can do so much now in the computer world, in the virtual world, that we couldn't do before. When before it was all physical testing and destructive in certain instances to define a product and how far its strengths were. Now we can do that all on the computer and adjust the design to suit. And then when we get a physical product made, we know at 95% that it will pass tests. There is always an element of how true that computer world is, but it's becoming a lot more precise now.
Very good. And what works for you in terms of finding your clients? I imagine that's quite a challenge as to finding a business that's at the right stage, or for them finding you. So how do you go about what works for you? So the first thing I did when I went into freelance and consultancy is using LinkedIn and social media. So we've looked at what social medias would be appropriate for us. And we looked at Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all the others. And so like all the Instagram, Facebook and things like that, it's mainly businesses that supply directly to a consumer, you, me, everybody basically, who buy things, food and everything. Business to business is a bit more difficult. So LinkedIn is a very good platform for that. We've also got a website, and we do a lot of SEO to be, it's a term in marketing that I don't understand, but my marketing coordinator knows exactly what to do. So that's great. And trying to be visible online, basically. We do very few, but we do a limited amount of exhibiting at shows where we can. And we do a little bit of networking as well. It's very limited because it's very time consuming. Yeah. And while we are small, if I don't work, we don't earn, the business doesn't earn any money. So that's why we do very little networking. It will change in the future when the team grows. Yeah. But that's where we are. Yeah. And
So yeah, we're trying to have a big presence online basically at the moment.
Great. So you mentioned that as a team grows. So what are your, what if we're having this conversation in 4 or 5 years' time? What would you count as success? What has to have happened?
Well, if everything goes to plan, we are in the process of designing our own product that by let's say 2026, 28, if we talk 4-6 years time, everybody will be using our product. It'll be at every corner of the street, hopefully, if that works, if it goes to plan.
Yeah.
The team will have grown, the company will have grown a lot. We'll have a few warehouses in the UK, and hopefully we should be making a lot of money as well.
Great. So you're putting your money where your mouth is, if you like, and proving that you can design and actually designing and launching your own product. That's right. What can you tell us about the product, or is it all top secret stuff?
Well, it's all to help with the it's plastic recycling and bottles being one of the main issues in the UK. It's it's without telling too much, that's what it's going to be. So yeah, it's to help the net zero in the UK and the way recycling is done. We're trying to revamp the plastic recycling cycle at the moment. If we keep the example as a bottle get collected by the local council, then it goes into a bin lorry, and then it goes to a sorting plant where people sort, and there is some machineries and miles of conveyor belts that use electricity made by coal and gas, which is not great. And then those bottles get baled in squares, basically, where they're all compacted. Then it goes onto a lorry and gets sorted again by colors, and then they get shredded, and then they get washed, and then it's endless amounts of sorting and and we want that bottle. So currently there is about 12 steps between being a bottle to being recycled and made into a new bottle with that same material. And we want to reduce that step to about 5. And we want to change how it's done. We're not going to fight against local authorities in terms of recycling, but we want to help with that, basically. So that's what we want to do.
Sounds fascinating. Well, definitely look forward to following the progress of for your progress on that. So, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in getting the business up and running and getting to the stage that you've got? What are some of the things that maybe you've got right, or if you were given a chance to have a look again, that you might do differently? What would you say?
Well, the first year when I started in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic as well, wasn't the best year to start. But we started just 2 months before the first lockdown. And obviously nobody knew at that time in February 2020 that we would be in lockdown and coronavirus would come and shut down everything in the world, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that is definitely not looked at when you start a business. It's marketing and being visible online and or anywhere, really. The more you're visible, the more people will see you and start to trust you. That's where social media is a great tool, because you can post. So on LinkedIn, we post regularly. We tend to post twice a week. And on my personal profile and then the company profile as well. And trusting relevant content that people like, content that is informative, that is authentic, that is truthful, and just people needs to build trust in you. People needs to build trust in your business before they can use you. So that's the biggest mistake I made is first customer, great, let's go, let's design, let's do nothing but design, and then at the end of that project, then I ended up with nothing.
Right.
So 6 months, big struggle trying to get back on and build that trust basically. And only now we're starting to see the fruits of the last year and a half of marketing work really. So it takes a long time to get known and trusted.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah. So when you started, were you able to bring a client with you essentially straight away from the work you were doing, or how did you get your first client then?
That's right. So the first client is, I was working for Dyson Automotive, and Dyson Automotive decided to cancel their EV project, the electrical vehicle project.
Right.
So I was helping them in the chassis team to make sure their suspensions were okay and structural enough to support the car, and and everything that suspension needs to do. I keep the wheels on the road, and that's the only contact that keeps the vehicle safe. And so in the space of half an hour, our project was gone. We had nothing, and then I had a friend who started with a new startup in Exeter, who just asked me for some advice. Because, like I mentioned before, they had a contractor that wasn't very useful to them. As he described it, he was very grumpy. So any changes they wanted to make, he wasn't keen on. So he asked me for advice about contractors and things like that. So and about the product, and it's all started from there. And then they decided to use my services, and we moved on there that way. It was through a friend, basically.
Yeah, very, very good. So you realized that you needed to keep that marketing going while you were doing the project. And yes, that's quite a common thing we find, isn't it, as small and medium-sized business owners, is that are those peaks and troughs where we get busy and we take our foot off the gas of marketing, and then we need to catch up again and have those troughs in between. So what any things you think you got right? What would you look back on and go, you know what, that was good, we got that right?
So on the marketing side, if we stay on that subject, is spending money on marketing. It's seen as an expense and something that will drain your business of money, but it's not always true, because I've listened to many podcasts, including Mark Wright, winner of The Apprentice 2014. It does a lot of webinars to help SMEs and small businesses. And I've attended a few, and others as well through the Smart Boots we did with you guys, Bismart, and that was really good and really helpful. And that's when I decided, right, we need somebody to look at the marketing side, because I just don't have the time myself. So we've employed a young lady. She's just finished a degree. She's doing a master now, so it helps her as well, having a job. And we're very multicultural in our team, because she's from Bulgaria, I'm French, and the admin lady is English. So
excellent.
That works really well. It works really well. It helps her with finances, because she needed to find a job to being a foreigner. She gets money to pay for a university fees, but she needs to live still. She needs to pay the rent, she needs food, so we can give her a job and help her that way. And she helps our business, because she brings back customers and makes our business really visible. We are also parts of a few we're part of the Connex portal. If you know about that one, it's a portal that brings a lot of companies like us, which we could call competitors, really. It also brings some manufacturing company all together to collaborate and work together. And I think it's a great thing, and we got a few inquiries from that as well. And that's really good. It's a small fee. It's £150 a year. I mean, I'm not trying to advertise their services, but For 150 quid a year, you can't go wrong, and it works. It's there is. I mean, we use all the tools as well to help the business. We use so, like I mentioned, we did the Smart Boots program with you guys, and we're now using the Smart 90, which is a really good tool because it keeps us on track. With our 90 days. Forecast and ambition,
yeah. So 90-day planning and priorities and things like that. Very good. And are you part of are there any other networks like the Connect that you're talking about? Because there's things like the West Midlands manufacturers, isn't there? All sorts of things like that. Are you part of other networks, portals?
We are part of Made in the Midlands, which supports Made in the UK, but we're not very active on it. It's, as I found out, it seems to be bigger SMEs company, a lot more advanced than us that tend to be in it. We are also part of the Plastic Consultancy Network, which is supported by the British Plastic Federation, the BPF. So we get inquiries through that as well. What else? We've got a few things going, and I can't remember. But yeah, that's the main one I can think of for now.
Very good. So you found a small number of the groups that work for you, and your LinkedIn marketing and
that's right. I can think of another two. Another one is Sustainability West Midlands.
Yeah,
which is linked to the West Midland local authorities to for recycling and things like that. So that helps us with our project, and we help them with their targets and their recycling. We part also of the charity called Recoup.
Okay.
It's a charity that is a big advisor on the government board to advise them what to do about recycle and all the talks about they have currently with the DRS, the deposit return scheme they want to introduce, and just to help the UK to net zero.
Yeah. So what's in terms of the perfect company that you can help, what exactly are you looking for? Where do you think you can add the most value to somebody?
So it's any company that either have a very small design team that needs extra resource, or it could be anybody that hasn't got a clue about how to design a product, but they've got a concept or a current product they want to optimize. They want to manufacture maybe a bit cheaper to make more profits. It could be somebody with a new idea, and inventors and entrepreneurs, and anything that can be designed, really. We will look at it and help them to design it. Part of our process before we start designing everything, after we had a consultation with a customer and after listening to their idea and their passion and what they want out of that product, we tend to do our own market research for that customer. So it's all included in the it's part of the free consultation, and then we advise them either that products already exist and it's very crowded market and maybe it's not worth going to it because the return on investment will be very minimal.
Yeah.
Or we advise them that there is other products very similar, but maybe if you design your products that way, that would make it stand out in the market and be more sellable. So we do that kind of thing at the beginning, make sure that just to support our customers, and make sure they don't go into something they've never done before and get burnt, really.
Yeah, very good. And do you help them to protect their idea as well? Do you help them with some of the IP, the patents, maybe?
So we don't do that. We've got a company that we use, which is a patent attorney that can help about all intellectual properties and patents and trademarks and things like that. So they can help our customers, but we don't have the knowledge and we don't have the resource at the moment. It's maybe something we look at in the future, definitely.
Yeah, very, very good. That sounds absolutely fascinating. And so in terms of things you mentioned a couple of things like Smart 90 and whatever. What are there any tools, software tools, or that you use, particular apps that you use within the business that you found to be really useful?
So for all our design, we use Siemens NX, which is one of the leading CAD software in the design world, basically. The other one is CATIA V5, but that one is a lot more. It's mainly used for aerospace. It's used in automotive as well, but it was primarily designed for aerospace and Airbus, basically. So we use Siemens NX, which is used to be called Unigraphics, for those that remember those days when CAD started. It's a really useful tool. We use, like I said, Smart 90. We use WordPress for web design. And that's it, really. That's the main project we use. Yeah,
very good. And you mentioned Mark Wright. Any other podcasts or books that you found particularly helpful?
Unfortunately, I'm one of those persons that doesn't read. So I don't read. I never liked reading. Even I like reading cartoons, but that's about it. Or if it's something, the Haynes Manual, I read happily.
The Haynes Manual, okay.
Yeah, a lot of books been mentioned and advised for me to read about businesses, but it's something I find really difficult to read.
Yeah.
I go to webinars, I go to listen to podcasts and things like that while I'm working. But
so, are there any particular podcasts that you would highlight?
The Mark Wrights. I listened to a few of ScaleUp Radio. That was quite good. Especially the one about Janina. I can't remember. It was all about marketing and brand and things like that. And that was really insightful and a good idea to create a strong brand and a strong website. So that was quite good.
Yeah.
But from top of my head, no, I can't think of any more. No.
Oh, very good. And something that I like to ask everybody as well, if you were to go back to your younger days, what advice would you give yourself?
Listen and learn a bit more in school, and that's for sure. I'm sure everybody will have the same one, but and learn English a lot better, because when I came in the UK, I couldn't speak a word of English because I didn't care about English. Why do you need it, And that's only when I was an adult that I started working on CNC machines that everything was in English, that I thought maybe I should have listened in school a bit more when I was younger. But, you make mistakes, learn from it and move on.
Well, your English is a lot better than my French. So
thank you.
You're doing all right. You're doing all right. And what's the fascination with Haynes manuals then? Are you into your cars?
I am into my cars. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't trust garages, so and I don't have the money to pay the labor rate. So I learned the hard way. If I needed a car when I was younger, when I learned to drive, it was to lift my sleeves and get on with it and learn. So and my dad used to service all his cars as well and fix everything, rebuild engines. So I've been like Obelix. I felt in it when I was little, really. Being with my dad in the garage. So it's been big influence on me for that. But I fix all our cars, even the electronic side. So I just like a challenge. I like to learn, and anything that is engineering it's one of my passion, that's for sure.
Very good. And whereabouts in France do you come from?
So I come from the southeast near Lyon.
Okay.
Which is on the main road to go to the south of France if you go to the French Riviera.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, lovely part of the world. So do you get back there very much?
We do, yeah. Even though with the pandemic, we haven't been able to go for 3 years, but we managed to get there for the whole month of August this year. So that was really good, seeing family and and friends. But yeah, we try to go at least twice a year, so the children can see their grandparents and cousins, and
Excellent. Very good. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Christophe, and condolences again yesterday for the World Cup. and if people would like to get hold of you or find out more about Convert Design, what's the best way for them to do that, Christophe?
So they can find us on LinkedIn looking for my own website, my own profile at Christophe Convert, or you can find our website at convertdesignltd.com, and there they'll find all the details about emails and telephone numbers, and there is even a contact form. Then they can contact us directly through that.
Brilliant. Super. Christophe, thank you very much indeed for being my guest on ScaleUp Radio today.
Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial Scale-Up System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.